This mystical prayer, this mystical poem, traditionally said as Shabbos enters in. It's the idea that the whole song, the entirety of it, the whole poem, is a name of the divine, and that every stanza, every verse is also a name of the divine. And it really is the mystical idea, right? This is what makes the mystics different. The idea is that the divine is not something out there. The divine is not something different. It's not something separate, right? I keep using this word divine because I think the word God makes me uncomfortable sometimes. Because of this idea, because of this notion that it means believing in something that I can't, isn't what I understand the world to be. And so the mystic notion instead, I think the idea of Ana B'Koach is that the divine is everything. It is us. It is everything. It is found in everything, no matter how big or how small. That we can look at the collection and the totality and imagine that as the divine, or we can look at the simplest, smallest little piece and understand that too as divine. Sakvenu Tarenu Nohora Yada Yom Niri Yom Niri Yeredam 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 Anna bekoach gedulat yemincha tatir tzerura kabelina vinatamcha sakvenu tarenu nora. Shamo v'zachor b'ribon echad hishmi'anu el hamiuchad Adonai echad Shmo echad Shem u'tiferet v'nitchila Kol echad odi likrat kala Shabbat neka habela samrada likra Shabbat v'chu v'nelcha ki hamakom habracha merosh mikirim nesucha sof maseh b'mat shvat tchila kol echad odi likras kala b'nei Shabbat neka habe תדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה ולך דודי לקרס קלה ונשבה נקבלה בואי ושלום תראה בלה גם בשמחה סגולה בואי חלה ולך דודי לקרס קלה נשבה
I think it wasn't on. I think they can hear us now. Sorry, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom again. I hope you enjoyed that warm-up for Shabbat, that it helped you release maybe some of the things you were feeling this past week. I'd like to share a Shabbat evening meditation. And since we know titles are so very important, this was written by Dr. Yvette Catlin. We are here together as one. One people, one community. We've joined to share in this treasured moment together. As we transition from the hectic demands of life and daily routines, we are invited to leave the week behind, to let go of what has been, let go of what will be, and enter a place of stillness, a sacred space in time. As the sun begins to set, or I think it's probably set by now, breathe in the glow of sunset and pause. Oh, and breathe out the stresses of the week. So let's do that one again.
I could definitely always have a do-over on breathing out the stresses of the week.
So let's breathe in the glow of sunset and pause. And breathe out the stresses of the week. Breathe in the calm of nightfall and pause. And breathe out and feel a sense of release. Breathe in the radiance of the moon and stars and pause. Breathe out all thoughts of doing. And become one with this present moment. Feel the warmth of relaxation wash over you. Breathe in the radiant light and pause. And breathe out and feel your soul become free to soar to new heights. Breathe in the calm and pause. Feel yourself surrender, and then breathe out everything and focus only on now. And feel your body, your mind, and your soul become whole and at peace. So We welcome in this peace, this peaceful feeling, as we welcome Shabbat by lighting the Shabbat candles. Sorry.
Bless you. Oh.
Did it finally run out?
Lighter. Oh, it's a Hanukkah miracle. There was just enough
Don't
left.
use it all up on that one, though. You're not supposed to do that.
There, we can
Hold
mix
on.
it up.
Hold on, they're going to fall. One of our kids definitely made these. Excuse me.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can get this up. There we go. We can see them
Feel
there.
in my throat. Oh, good. So let's bring in Shabbat, that peace, that breathing, all the holiness of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And that was goodbye to Hanukkah, wasn't it?
You know, it's so funny you said that because I almost sang the Hanukkah melody as we were lighting the candles in my... and I was so glad you were here to sing the correct Shabbat melody.
So, I can't believe that was the end of Hanukkah. So we make a separation, speaking of separations, into Shabbos, away from Hanukkah, towards Tu B'Shvat, right? Like our next holiday, I love this, our next holiday is Tu B'Shvat, is the birthday of the trees, is a reminder that there is spring coming. No matter how tough this winter is, and this is a tough winter, it's been tough already, but spring is coming. Spring is coming. You can even see the buds, the early buds on the plants that...
we have a long ways to go.
No, there are. They're totally... We've got bushes outside that
confused.
aren't going to make it. I know, exactly. But
they're just confused bushes.
I appreciate their optimism. So we make a separation into the service proper with the words of Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayedecho be'Yisrael Bagala uvizman kariv v'yimeru amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach Le'olam olam me'almaya Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Kedusha b'richu Leila min kol b'chata v'shirata Tush b'chata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma V'yimeru amen. Each other to prayer. Baruch Adonai Amevorach Leolam Ba'ed Yadai 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 Yadai
interpretation of Ma'ariv Arvim, our blessing for the evening from On Wings of Light, a Hillel Sidur. A wind arrived from you one evening by the sea, caught a cloud and breathed it toward the sun, whose cooling warmth drew it pink and orange, purple, yellow, gold upon the strands, and waves your sea wind had whipped white, caught the gold, laughed up the yellow, till the waves and clouds, bright sea, bright sky, rode together, a tide of clouds come in, a tide gone out, to welcome evening sun, like mystics surging toward Shabbat, its colors melting in the tide.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, kol elom ibnei choshech, kol elom ibnei choshech, v'choshech mibnei yom. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
So we make our way towards the Shema. You know, I was actually talking to the Shabbat School kids about this, but there is the Shema, and then there's this whole section of the service called the Shema and its blessings. And we were talking about why there's a section, and then why there's the specific Shema also. And we decided that the Shema and its blessings has many beautiful lessons about how we live, about the Ve'ahavta, about the reminder of routines and days, Ma'ariv Arvim. The Shema reminds us to focus on the moment we are in, this moment in time. And that focus changes. It changes depending on the season, it changes depending on our mood, depending on our week. But it's really a reminder to focus on what I think are the most basic parts of that we are one, that humanity is one, that this is something we need to focus on. And I think at this time of year, we, with Hanukkah and with Shabbat, we get the added focus of how we can bring light to this dark time of year. So we join in the Shema.
Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema 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 Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Going to the, yes. Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something?
I've been thinking about what it means. I guess we've all been thinking about what it means to wear a mask, right? And what it says, I think, when we're in public, when we're around people, how wearing a mask is such a value statement. I'm so caught that, and they keep coming back to it, even as they've shown that masks do help to protect the wearer, that masks primarily protect everyone else. And it's so hard, I think, to get our head around that, to make that our operating moral logic day to day, moment to moment. I mean, for any of us, I think it's just not how humans are wired, to remember that, right, our first obligation is actually about how we impact those around us rather than how they impact us. So this is V'ahavta, about the values that we live at every moment of every day. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafo peinenecha u'chtabtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'hisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem ahani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Amen. So we were talking about Joseph earlier. Actually, I think it was right when we were waking up. So it literally was our pillow talk, I guess. That was funny. I thought that was funny.
I'm laughing.
Laughing at me, No, it was. We were sitting there, we were talking about Joseph because Joseph's the longest part of the Torah. We miss this sometimes, but Joseph is the longest uninterrupted narrative in the Torah. And Joseph is really a bridge, right? Joseph, when you think about it, when you think of it sort of through a literary analysis kind of lens, Joseph is a bridge between the two great stories of our people, the two great stories of our ancient people, at least. The story of the Exodus from Egypt, and the story of the matriarchs and the patriarchs, of Sarah and Abraham, of Rebekah, of Isaac, of Rachel, Leah, of Jacob. Right? We have these stories that in some ways are so disconnected from each other. The stories of a small family wandering through the desert trying to make their way in a new promised land. And the story of a group of slaves bound together by their experience, trying to find their way home. And yet, we spend the most time on the bridge between them, on Joseph, which binds them together, which says, though it's hard to imagine ourselves as one people, actually, all of these tribes, all of these different tribes that we're trying to form into Israel, we're all cousins. We're all the children of Joseph, or of Jacob. I don't know, I think it's so hard right now in America. It feels like we've lost a story that we can tell that includes all of us. Maybe we never had it, right? But it feels more distant, I think, than it has at any time in my life. That the story that we tell about who we are is just so different from each other. And so I'm struck that the most time we spend in the whole Torah on any story is on the bridge, is on doing that work, is on building the narrative, building the myth that lets us all sit together at a table as cousins.
Brothers.
Siblings. נדע בקודש.
So we continue with what was a family favorite, and I believe is a CRC favorite, with Hashkivenu. These words that ask that we are protected and watched over and kept safe even when it's dark outside. Even when we feel it the most, we want that feeling of knowing that maybe there's something greater that's out there that's watching over us and protecting us.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Somrenu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Somrenu Lechaim. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu Lechaim. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Alright, alright, alright. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Somrenu Lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom V'hamidenu Somrenu Lechaim.
You know what I just remembered? It's Rabbi Randy's birthday.
It's Rabbi Randy's birthday today?
Yeah.
I think, hold on, doesn't that mean it's Rabbi Susan's birthday too?
And Essie's.
And Essie's birthday, and yes.
I think I put it in my calendars, everyone at TRC's birthday but mine. But it was so nice to hear that version and to bring some Rabbi Randy into the service, and happy birthday to all the CRC birthdays that happened today. We make our way into the Amidah. So traditionally the Amidah is silent, and that was the tradition at CRC long before the pandemic, and so we've stuck with that because there's all different kinds of prayer. There's the prayer that we pray as a community that we've been doing this evening, even though We're not all together as a community. I can see the chat. I can feel your presence here with us. And then there's the prayer of us as individuals. Those things that we kind of just need to get off our chest maybe and get out there into the world, whatever that looks like for us. There's musical prayer, and there's, prayers of our hearts, and there's so many different kinds of prayer. There's no wrong or right way to pray. So we take a moment to begin together and then pause for individual prayer.
Adonai, Sifata Tifta, Ufi Yagim, Tehilatecha, Havaya, Sifata Tifta, Ufi Yagim, Tehilatecha. Adonai, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you, Adonai, Sifatai Tifta, Ufi Yagim, Tehilatecha, Sifatai Tifta, Ufi Yagim, Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Bilha, Elohei Zilpah. Speaking of all the other tribes, these are the other Imahot, the other mothers who weren't traditionally included because of class reasons. El Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanora, El Elyon, Koneh Shamayim Va'aretz.
So as we offer up the prayers of our hearts, we know there's a lot of people in our community who are in need of healing. Spiritual healing, mental healing, emotional healing, physical healing. We don't even know the full toll this pandemic has taken on all of us. And so we send out blessings of healing into our world. I have some people on my list. You're welcome to put some people in the chat. I will read them after the list. Or just feel the presence of our community and know that you are not alone. Finn Naylor, Rick Hack, Gail Rock, Evan Richards, Carrie Schulman, Susan Schroeder, Ron Fagerstrom, Debbie Zorinsky, Dr. Richard Byrnes, Julie Stevenson, Toby Schreiber, Everly Ray Bierman, Corinne Char, Meredith Berkowitz, Gail Hollifield, Tom Fox, Michael Davenport, Dick Fine, Peter Fishman, Sherry Hugler O'Donnell, otherwise known as Cher DeLune, W. Hodding Carter III, Roshan Batman, Beth Herzig, Jordan Schifrin, this is Beth Herzig's son, Erwin Pollack, Kay Wolpert, Louis Mayer, Bob Cohn, Louis Kidder, Larry Kottner, Norm Polsky, Peggy Brockman, Leah Babette, Jack Oaklander, Arlene Mercer, and we already said that. And I don't see any names, so feel free to add them, but we'll join together in words of blessing.
So I've also been thinking, I spent a few days in the hospital with a loved one this week. And I, through rabbinical school, through a summer spent as a chaplain in a hospital, through just being a rabbi for a decade, I have been in a number of very intense medical situations with people during the most difficult times. And this was the first time I have seen COVID patients on ventilators. And they're images that I'm having trouble unseeing. And so all I can think of is all of these medical folk, all these folk who have been on the front line, all these people who have been on the front lines of protecting us, of helping people, of saving lives, and of seeing this and of taking this into their souls. We're all gonna have to do the sacred work of being there for them in the years to come, as they've been there for us this year.
Made us source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say
blessed is the source of healing that calls us to be healers in this world.
Amen.
I see Sue Lapp on the list for Mishaberach L'cholim. We're certainly sending love to Sue.
So, we take a moment for some Torah discussion, if you will. Continuing that pillow talk discussion about Joseph. One of the things I was really blown away with Joseph, and Daniel's right, we have so much text on Joseph. He takes up so much, more of the Torah. I mean, Isaac gets like this tiny little baby part.
Oh,
and,
Isaac's like the schlub of the patriarch,
yeah,
certainly.
he's like the unfavorite.
But even Abraham's all of, what, like 3 weeks or something, and you're done with Abraham's
Yeah.
story? Maybe not even that. I mean,
And
it's...
Joseph goes on and on for weeks and chapters,
Yeah.
and he has this incredible journey. And so...
Oh, thank you, Julie, who's worried about Karen's cough. I
thank
promise
you.
it's just her allergies.
It's allergies.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yeah,
those buds you were talking about on the trees earlier. So we have this Joseph, and he's dreaming his second dream this week. So we aren't even like, we're getting there, but we are not there yet with Joseph.
These are the 7 cows.
The 7 cows.
Yeah.
And he's in jail, and they're interpreting these dreams, and he is interpreting these dreams for Pharaoh. And so he interprets this last dream, and Pharaoh, like, is so grateful that these dreams have been correct, and that Joseph has predicted this famine in this dream, that Pharaoh makes him a viceroy? Like a...
Viceroy? I don't know how you say that word.
Yeah, and
Prime Minister.
Viceroy's chair, and he gives him a chariot, and he gives him his daughter as his wife. So Joseph continues this journey. He has these dreams. We find out he gets married. He lives in Egypt. He's risen to power. He's protecting all these people from this famine that has happened, and they've been storing grain. And then we get Jacob brought back into the story, even though Joseph is down in Egypt. Oh my gosh. We have Jacob brought back into the story, and we have Joseph's brothers brought back into the story as they come to get food, because they don't have any food because there's a famine. So they come and they don't recognize Joseph. And even though we know it's Joseph, they don't know it's Joseph. And so we have this whole story. And I was really blown away by how much Joseph has been through in his life. Like, you know, he starts as this favorite child, and he's given this coat, and then his brothers throw him in a pit. He's sold into slavery. He's sold to a woman who abuses him. He is put in jail. He gets out. He rises to power. I mean, it's just an incredible story. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was Joseph's resilience. I mean, even if all of this didn't happen, it's a lot. And he is still a part of our story all the way through. The biggest part of our story, and the most pages and the most chapters. And he keeps coming back. And I think there's something to be said about him for that, you know, he ended up rising to power and having this incredible, different life than anyone ever could have predicted.
The way you described that, it made me think of the Shoah and how many Holocaust survivors I know who, right, like have lived these lives of incredible degradation and incredible heights, and right, the childhood that they had leading into the Shoah and the Holocaust and the experience afterwards, and it made me think, though, that how often that has been the Jewish narrative, right? Like that actually the world we're in right now in America, even as we can see the problematics, even as it maybe feels like we are off of the golden age and on the downward slope. I don't mean to be too pessimistic here, but right? But even as that's happening, it's always stands out to me how much this has been the Jewish story more often than the story of so many American Jews. I think even of like Ashkenazi American Jews, and we tend to make the mistake of thinking that Ashkenazi Jews are the same thing as Jews, first of all, right? Like a majority of Israelis are not Ashkenazi. But even beyond that, thinking that the same thing that Ashkenazi Jews are the same thing as American Jews, because of course they're not. Full 20% of American Jews are Jews of color, and then all sorts of Jews who aren't Ashkenazi and aren't Jews of color. But what I was thinking of is that so many of us talk, if you're from the Ashkenazi Jewish world, about the old world, right? Like when we lived in the old world. And the reality is, if you go back and look at European Jewry, if you look at Ashkenazi Jewry when it was still in Europe, oftentimes you were born in a different country than your grandparents who were refugees, who were born in a different country than their grandparents who were refugees, who were born in a different country. So the irony is, right, in my family we have these stories that we came from Belarus. My family's almost certainly been in the United States longer than they ever were in Belarus. And so this story that we're hearing with Joseph is, in some ways, in its beauty and in its tragedy. I don't know, it's what struck me when you were talking, the Jewish story.
Yeah. And that resilience.
That resilience.
Things happen and things that we have no control over happen. And I think it's a good reminder this week that sometimes it's kind of left up to chance or what's just coming our way, that what happens to us. And just because something, I guess for me, it also is a non-predictor that just because something bad happened, that doesn't mean it's going to continue to always be bad necessarily. Like, I think sometimes for myself, I can get caught in like it's not a doom scrolling, but maybe a doom spiral, if you will, of like, well, this happened and this was so frustrating and so awful, and then this happened and it just kind of feels like you can't get out of it and you can't get to that next.
Well, right, that's the feeling of the pandemic so often, that you there's only so much resilience you can have, and there's only so much empathy you can have. I mean, back to these first-line medical workers, I don't even understand how they do it. How do you still see a human being when you're intubating your 75th person in the last however many weeks? It's, yeah. So, right, that's, I think, what Shabbat is for. That there's supposed to be these 25 hours where it's about refreshing and renewal, right? Shavat va'inafash is the line, refresh and renewal, and just being rather than controlling. So
You're right, just being.
Just being.
Letting it kind of happen, knowing it's out of our control.
So let's take that breath as we say the words of Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tei kedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kiguyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'cho hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Noteh Shamayim Veyoser Haaretz U'moshev Yekaro B'Shamayim Mima'al U'shchinatu zo Begove Meromim Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efesulato Kakatu b'torato v'yadata yom v'hashivota elevovecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim mima'al v'al ha'aretz mitachat ein od v'nema v'haya Adonai למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
So at the very end of our service, we take a few moments to remember those who are no longer with us. Feel free to put names in the chat of people you're thinking of. I will share names in a moment. This is called visiting a grave. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft star that shines at night. I do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. So we'll share some names of some more recent losses in our community. We remember Stan Zerman, remember Donna Levitt and Rodney Barton. We remember Vern Benjamin, Virginia Laraca, Mem Mavshin, Shirley Gurchin, Jose Velasco, Morton Wechsler, Carol Katz, David Levin, Greg Carlson, Judith B. Coleman, Lindsay Margaloo, Benjamin Katz, Stephen Watson, Evelyn Rudin, Jonathan Kletnick, Michael Parker, and Donna Kitchen.
Luis Godovich.
Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, yeah.
Gail, your dad. Morton.
Ed Berg.
Ed Berg, yeah. And for all those we've lost to this terrible disease, the 300,000. Bob Bernstein, my aunt's father, my Aunt Jerry's father.
Steve Kuhn.
Steve Kuhn.
Thank you all. So we join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish.
Yid Gadal, Yid Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma, Divrach, Chrute, V'yamlich Malchute, V'chayechon, Uvyomechon, V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivarach, Le'olam Ulamei Almaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei D'Kudashah Barichu, Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechamata, Da'amiran Be'alma V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru. Amen. Aseh Shalom B'mramav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Teva, V'imru. Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of those that we miss be a blessing in our lives, as we say Amen.
Amen.
And Shabbat Shalom.
A few announcements.
Yeah.
So there is no Shabbat school for the next 3 weeks. No Wednesday school or Saturday school. We will have family service, but it will not be on Zoom. So stay in your jammies and feel free to watch however you normally watch. Grief support group. The next meeting is December 19th at noon. And we can hook you up with Jamie Sintnor, who's amazing, if you need the link. Just so everyone knows, the Jewish-Muslim Day of Community Service has been postponed. And instead, there's going to be a morning motivational Zoom meeting on Christmas Day. So just make note of that. And check our website. Always, there's always stuff going on. And you should always check our website if you need to know a date or a time. Yeah. Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
The one thing, if you are streaming this right now, you should know that starting this week, we also have a Zoom going. So if you'd like to be a part of services with other people, from now on, every Friday night, every Shabbat morning, there will be a Zoom link to join. You can find it in your CRC emails, or you can check it out on the website.
That's different than family service, so that will happen either way.
So hello to the Zoom folks. Hopefully it works this week. We'll find out in a minute.
Sure we will.
Adon Olam Hashem Allah Terem Ko Yitzir Nivra Ni'enasa V'chefsako Azar Me'emet Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kichlora Kol Levado Imloch Nora V'hu Aya V'hu Hove V'hu Yeh V'tifara
בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחגואלי, צוחב לי ביצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, ביום אקרא. בידו הפקיר רוחי, והייתי שם ויעירה, ועם רוחי גבייתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
So we end by giving each other a blessing.
Oh, and tomorrow's Wes Schatzman's
Oh
bar
yeah,
mitzvah.
10 a.m. West Shas become as
Wes Schatzman.
Yes, what she said.
Become the bar mitzvah.
10 a.m.
So celebrate with us and with the Schatzman family.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May we be blessed. May we be kept physically safe.
Yeah.
Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
And may we take some of this light that hopefully we have felt from these Shabbat candles, from this beautiful 8 nights of Hanukkah that we ended, and from each other being here together. May we put that out into the world.
Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And most of all, may we find the peace that we need. May our city find the peace that it needs. May our country and may our world and everyone in it have more peace. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.